الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا وحبيبنا وطبيبنا ومرجانا ومولانا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We of going through trying times, troubled times, economic hardship, and one of the qualities or one of the characteristics that are the main causes that we find that the state that we are in, from an individual level, a national level, an international level, is to do with greed. Greed is so detrimental, it is so disparaging, it is so destructive. You cannot imagine the harm that it does to society and to families and to individuals. The person who is a greedy person, himself or herself, does not realize what situation he or she is. And it needs to be brought to their attention in order to get this reformation. Greed is this excess fondness of money and fortune. It is one of the bad manners that draw to various evils and sins. It is selfish, it is excessive or uncontrolled desire for possession or the pursuit of money or wealth, or food, or other possessions, especially when you deny somebody else of the same. Sayyidina Ali karramallahu wajh says, know with certainty that you cannot achieve your desire and cannot exceed your destined life. Every seeker of livelihood does not get it, nor is everyone who is moderate in seeking deprived from it. Greed enslaves man. It causes him grief. The greedy cares only for collecting the fortunes without stopping at any limit. Whenever he achieves a goal, he works for achieving another. And so he becomes the slave of his greed until death strikes him. He tires for gaining fortunes, but death comes unexpectedly upon him to deprive him of enjoying that fortune. I've said before, when you have got your 1 million, you got 3 6 zeros. Then you want to add another zero to make it 10 million. Then you want to add another zero. Get 100 million. You're just working for zeros. That's basically what is happening. Brothers and sisters, if you work for the dunya, I've said before, the dunya runs away from you. You work for the akhirah, subhanallah, the dunya runs after you. You will be able to know how to manage. And may Allah make us of those that will run after akhirah so the dunya can run after us. That we will be indifferent. Sayyidatina Aisha radiallahu anha, Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu, they were multi-millionaires. They were big business people of their times. But money did not make them, they made the money. That is the situation we should be in. And the irony of it is, after we've worked so hard, and we hardly had time to enjoy the fruits of it, Allah takes us away. And who enjoys it? Your heirs, your inheritors. Isn't it so? So create this balance, my brothers and sisters. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنًا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنًا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Oh Allah, give us the good in this world and enjoy this world. Why not? And give us the good. Let us enjoy also the hereafter. And protect us from the fire of Jahannam. Allah says, وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. And whoever is saved from his own greed, they are the ones who will be successful. Amen. The crisis we find today, especially in the year 2009, and if you give you a little bit of history, it has to do with greed. When Muslim Spain fell in 1492, you find the Europeans spread out all over the world. They went to the Americas, they went to Africa, they went to Asia, they went to Australia, and millions of natives of the respective countries, they were brutalized, they were enslaved, they were killed, and many figures have been given. But for the sake of brevity of today here, I'll carry on. In the mid-20th century, we found the British Empire was crumbling, and the colonial powers were pulling out, and this country was one of them. That we got our independence in 61, if I remember correctly. And many other countries in Africa. But look how clever they were. What did they do? They drew up national boundaries for their continuing benefit in order to rape the country's wealth. That's what they've been doing. Go to India, see what the British did there. You go into Africa, you see it there. And eventually, what took place since the British crumbled? The United States Empire came up. And the United States had fought for control of the world's resources and markets, while keeping the true reasons for war away from the Americans. And this sounds very familiar. I quote to you Major General Smedley Butler. He was a recipient of 2 Congressional Medals of Honor, and he describes his experience in the Marines. And he says, war is a racket. I helped to make Mexico, especially Tampico. It was set for American oil interests in 1914. I helped to make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National Citibank boys to collect their revenues. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. And I helped purify Nicaragua for the international banking house of the Brown Brothers in 1909. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for the American sugar interests in 1916. In China, I helped to see that the Standard Oil went its way unmolested. So the primary goal of the US foreign policy defined after World War II assured a continuing clash between the US and the weaker and the resource-rich nations. It has to do with greed, my brothers and sisters. George Kennan, also a recipient of the Albert Einstein Peace Prize, in his top-secret policy planning study of the State Department, he says we have about 50% of the world's wealth, but only 6.3% of the population. Brothers and sisters, how much can we eat? If we have a loaf of bread, can we eat the bread? No. 1 slice, 2 slices, all right. Maybe 4 slices. But the bread, what do we do with it? This is the problem of greed. The former National Security Advisor to President Carter, Brzezinski, he speaks about the domination of Eurasia, that's Europe and Asia, where you find all the 60% of the world's GNP, for example. May Allah provide for all of us, because He is Wallahu khairur raziqeen. But we may never be of those whose greed denies others their need. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to make a dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min nafsin la tashba'. Oh Allah, I seek your protection from a self that is never satisfied. Amin ya Rabb. Wealth in itself is not evil. Allah mentions in the Quran that it is khair. In Surah Baqarah, He mentions it is fadlillah. It's a bounty and blessing of Allah. He mentioned also it's a fitna. وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. Allah know that your possessions and your children are but a trial, and that surely with Allah is a great reward. In a world obsessed with materialism, we often overlook the ideals and values that go beyond the rands. It is truly unfortunate, my brothers and sisters, that a person's worth in society is so often measured by the wealth rather than his worth measured by his contribution to society. That is the measure that we have to measure a person. What is his worth to the society? If he is on top of this earth and he is no benefit to humanity, then he is better underneath the earth. Allah says, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ وَخَتَمَ عَلَى سَمْعِهِ وَقَلْبِهِ وَعَلَى بَصَرِهِ غِشَاوَةً فَمَنْ يَهْدِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ اللَّهِ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ? Have you seen him who takes his own nafs, his own lust, his own vain desires as his ilah, and Allah, knowing him as such, left him astray? He gives him the road and seals his hearing and his heart, and he puts a cover on his sight. And then Allah says, who then will guide him after Allah? Will you not reflect upon this? Brothers and sisters, so many stories we can hear about greed within our family structures. One catching the other one just because of greed. You know, in the time of the Khalifa, the Abbasid Empire, the Khalifa Harun al-Rashid, one of the most famous Khalifas of the time, almost immediately after the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, he's asking people in his kingdom, is there anybody left who saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? That was towards the end now. There were hardly any Sahabi left. And the people came forward, they said, yes, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is one old, very old lady. She is still around. He said, bring her to me. And she is escorted with assistants in front of Harun al-Rashid. And Harun al-Rashid asks, he said, did you see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And she answered, yes sir, I did. And then he says, can you remember anything? Any hadith, any saying, any narration, any nasiha which he gave to you? And she said, yes. And she says, when old age comes, two things become young. One is hope and the other is greed. And the Harun al-Rashid, the Khalifa, says, thanks very much. Here is 100 dinars and off you go. And she thanks him and she goes off. She goes off. And halfway she turns around as if she's forgotten something, and she comes back and she says to the Khalifa, what is it? Have I forgotten something? He says, no, I just came to find out whether the money you gave me, is it a once-off payment or is it for every year? The Khalifa Harun al-Rashid thought, and he says, how true the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's words, subhanallah. Even at her age, she has hope for life, and now she even has greed for money. Subhanallah. Harun al-Rashid, being the very gracious king that he was, he says, no, it's for you every year. Every year. You come and collect. She was an old lady, Sahabiyya. And the riwayat goes, the story goes, as she was being escorted to her town, she breathed her last. This is life, my dear brothers. This is what we are here for. O people of Iman, greed is a disease, and it is harmful for the life of Islam. You must understand, it brings about disappointment, it brings about sickness, it brings about humiliation, it brings about depression. Speak to the people that dabble on the stock exchange. In these times, they say, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. If you can give me an azimat, you can do something about it, then you come. Otherwise, don't talk to me. Greed, my dear brothers, we have to be very careful. In the divine plan of Allah, we must understand, if in order to produce a loaf of bread, a lot of effort goes in there. You must cultivate the fields, you harvest the crop, you take the grain to the mills, and you make the loaf in an oven, and there's a certain arrangement in the divine wisdom of Allah how to go about it, and then we satisfy ourselves to the rizq Allah gives us. Khalas. But you see, but in order to satisfy our need, we have gone so far that we even give back our zakat, which is obligatory upon us. We have abandoned the concept of zakat because of greed, which is one of the most important pillars of Islam, and a means of being blessed and repelling our misfortunes. The one, it's been mentioned, who doesn't pay zakat is bound to lose the wealth equal to the amount you are not paying. You will either spend it frivolously on nonsense things, or Allah will take it away because of misfortune. So be very careful. Allah has given us 2.5%. Ya Allah, 2.5% to take away and give to the poor. Why? So that we may benefit from the dua of the needy. Those poor people make dua for you. And it will also be an avoidance of the bitterness and the hasad from the same poor people whom you are not giving. So all around, 2.5% is a good investment that we can give, my dear brothers. But you see, our problem is, once my stomach is full, what do I care if everybody else dies of hunger? You work and I will eat. This is our problem. We have a huge problem in this part of the world, in this part of even the town that we are talking about, as far as poverty is concerned. The government cannot alleviate that. We have to assist and help. Whatever small amount we give, please give, assist. The selfish man and dishonest man becomes because of greed. One day, a man, very selfish man, he lost 30 dinars, gold dinars, or 30,000 rand, whatever figure you want to use. And he goes to his friend, he says, man, I've lost this, man. Ya Allah, that is only tasbih now, you see. I lost it. I think he lost it up there too, but he lost it. And it so happened, his friend's daughter walks in afterwards, and he says, Dad, I picked up 30 gold dinars. He says, no, this is my friend, he lost it. And he calls for him. And he says, here's your 30 dinars, my daughter picks it up. But you see, a selfish man, a greedy man, what did he say? He said, no, I lost 40 dinars, not 30. Hey, it's more than 20% certificate. So he takes the 30 and chucks it back to him and says, I'm going to court. I'll take you to court and I'll get the balance out of you. And he goes to court. And he summons his friend. Okay, man, this is friendship. And he summons his friend. And the judge says, girl, what did you pick up? 30 dinars. Yes. Sir, what did you lose? 40 dinars. Okay. He says, you see, the 30 dinars belongs to a man who lost 30 dinars. The 40 dinars which you lost, somebody else must have it, and when he finds it, I'll give it to him. So what does the man say? No, I did lose 30 dinars. Case dismissed. This is greed. This is how greed changes us, that even one's friendship, one's family, one's own, we will even deprive from. Be very careful, my dear brothers and sisters. Ya Allah, I remember the aspect of greed. One day there was a store that opened. People are never satisfied. That's the problem. That's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, oh Allah, protect me, la tajba', that I am never of those that are never satisfied. Must be contented. There was a new store, supermarket that opened up. But especially for women. And it was selling husbands. If you want a husband, you go to the store. But the thing is, the punchline is, you can only visit the store once, and there are 6 floors on it. So obviously she goes into the... So once you go in, you cannot come out down the same way, you've got to go out another entrance. And she comes to the first floor. And the first floor reads, these men have jobs and love Allah. Of course, he said, okay, I'll go to the second floor. Second floor reads, these men have jobs and love Allah and they love children. Now you can tell women that. You're talking the right language. The third floor says, these men have jobs, they love Allah, they love children, and are extremely good looking. And she says, wow, just like her, let me go a bit further. She goes to the 4th floor, same story. These men have jobs, they love Allah, they love kids, they are drop dead gorgeous, and they even help with the housework. She said, oh mercy, oh, I can't stand this now. This is getting better and better. And she goes, let me go further. Let me go further to the 5th floor. And it reads, subhanallah. These men have jobs. They love Allah. They love children. They are drop dead gorgeous. And they help with the housework and have even a romantic streak in them. Strong. Reminds me of me. Subhanallah. She's tempted to stay now. But she says, no. Let me go another step. Another daraja. Another one upstairs. And it says, you are visitor number 4,363,152 to this floor. This floor exists solely as proof to show that women are impossible to please. Thank you for shopping. Mind the step, and that's the extra for you. Brothers, this is what greed does to us. And this is what aspects of not being contented does do to us, my dear brothers and sisters. Ya Allah. We must ask Allah in His infinite mercy this aspect of greed, because we know the social evils we find ourselves in our community. The greed is so much, which we've seen, that they will even ask the father and mother to contribute from their pension that the child must get from them. How dare you? How dare you, as a child, when you were small, and we've gone through that subject already, that you were small, they looked after you, and there was no reservations, there was no conditions, nothing attached to it. They would have even given their life for you. You are touching a measly pension amount from them. Do you know the tears that go down their eyes? Allah protect us, Ya Allah. Allah protect us. Don't you know about the child? When he came in the hadith, when he came with the milk, and he says to his wife and children, my habit is first to give to my mother and my father. And he stood there with the mug of milk because they fell asleep and did not want to disturb them. What would we have done? Wouldn't we have been that unrude and uncouth and unmannerly? Because we haven't got adab. If you are greedy, you haven't got adab. No respect. Everything goes. If you're not greedy, subhanallah, may Allah make us of that, Ya Allah. Because if you are greedy, you will kill, my dear brothers and sisters. It has happened. And I'm speaking about this on purpose because in our community, these things are happening now. And it affected me not so long, a few days ago, and I'm hearing these things. That people are being killed for greed. People are being robbed. People are being hurt. And they are taking stolen property. and they want to feed their own children and us. Ma'adallah. This is greed, my dear brothers and sisters. It's not fair. It's not fair because Allah is the provider of rizq. And it's not fair on the people that work hard and they sweat for it. And here, a person whose greed and selfishness comes and you want to kill and maim and murder and take and rob. We're hearing now they have become so daring, they're going even into the malls. Where have you heard a big supermarket in a huge mall with all its security is being attacked? And they get away. That's the other thing. How it must be really feasible to go into this. Allah, ma'adallah. May Allah in His infinite mercy protect us from greed. May Allah make us contented with what Allah has given us. You know, our forefathers and our fathers, wallahi, if you want to learn anything of contentment, learn from them. They would wear their pants, they would wear their trousers, that same bed, that same bedding. They might have been poor, but they were clean and they were contented. People are asking, but this poverty is creating this. Go to India. You go to India. How many millions and millions of poor people are there? Do you find greed like we have here? Especially in the so-called developed Western countries. Of course there is crime and this like this, but not at this type of level. They have shame and modesty in their poverty. And that's what Allah is, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is encouraging us. To have shame, to have modesty, and to have iman in our poorness. Because that's where the barakah lies. Really, what did the dua, what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam say? May Allahumma ahyini miskinan, wa amitni miskinan, wa ahshurni yawm al-qiyamah fi masakini. Oh Allah, let me live amongst the poor. Let me die amongst the poor and resurrect me amongst the poor. Oh Allah, make us also of them.